New York in the 1700s was a city of extreme transformation. A bustling colonial port of just 5,000 people at the start of the century, yet destined to become the birthplace of one of the most powerful nations on the planet. This was also an era of upheaval. Through revolution and fire, occupation and liberation, New York emerged as a symbol of American resilience. Thanks to new advanced AI software, we can now recreate these remarkable scenes with unprecedented accuracy. By analysing actual 18th century paintings and engravings, we're able to show how New York likely looked, the architecture, streets, people and atmosphere of the time, allowing us to step back nearly 300 years and experience the city as New Yorkers once did. This is an extraordinary panoramic view of New York City from the early 18th century. Looking across from Brooklyn Heights toward Manhattan's east waterfront, you're seeing the bustling colonial port as it appeared in 1717. Dominating the southern tip is Fort George, the formidable stone fortress that controlled access to the harbour. Its bastioned walls and cannon batteries protected the city from seaborne threats. Just beyond, you can see the emerging skyline, the spire of Trinity Church rising above modest 2- and 3-story buildings, most still showing their Dutch heritage with stepped gables and gambrel roofs. The East River is alive with activity. Dozens of sailing vessels crowd the waterfront. Sloops from coastal colonies, merchant ships from the Caribbean, and ocean-going vessels from London. This was New York's highway of commerce, connecting the city to the British Empire's global trade network. Notice the wharves jutting into the water, the Great Dock at Wall Street's foot, and the irregular shoreline where slips and inlets cut into the town. This view captures New York at a pivotal moment. No longer the small Dutch trading post of New Amsterdam, but not yet the revolutionary hotbed it would become. It was a city finding its identity under English rule, its harbour already revealing the strategic advantage that would make it America's greatest port. Fort George and the Battery, the seat of power. This is Fort George, standing sentinel at Manhattan's southernmost point, the defensive heart of colonial New York. Originally built by the Dutch in 1625 as Fort Amsterdam, by the 1700s it had been expanded and renamed to honour King George II. You're looking at a formidable quadrilateral fortress with bastioned earthworks, stone-curtained walls, and dozens of cannon mounted along the battery to guard the harbour's entrance. Inside these walls stood the Governor's House, a 2-story brick mansion where colonial governors like Lord Cornbury resided and wielded royal authority. Also within the fort were barracks, a chapel, and the administrative machinery of British rule. The fort was more than military. It was the symbol of crown power in America. Just north of the fort lies Bowling Green, a small fenced park laid out in 1733. In 1770, grateful New Yorkers erected a gilded lead statue of King George III on horseback here, thanking him for repealing the Stamp Act. That gratitude would prove short-lived. On July 9, 1776, just hours after the Declaration of Independence was read to jubilant crowds, patriots pulled down that very statue in a symbolic act of revolution. They hacked it apart and melted the 4,000 pounds of lead into bullets, literally turning royal authority into ammunition for liberty. The fort itself fell to British forces in September 1776 and remained their stronghold until November 25, 1783, when General George Washington triumphantly led Continental troops back into the city on Evacuation Day, raising the Stars and Stripes where the Union Jack had flown for 7 long years. Trinity Church, Faith and Fire. This is Trinity Church on Broadway at Wall Street, whose towering spire dominated New York's skyline for much of the 18th century. The first Trinity, built in 1698, was a stone church with a gambrel roof and a wooden steeple reaching perhaps 150 feet high, a beacon for ships entering the harbour and the spiritual centre of Anglican New York. Queen Anne granted the church valuable land in 1705, making Trinity Parish wealthy from rents. This was the church of the elite. Royal governors and prominent families like the Delanceys held pews here. Its adjacent churchyard, filled with tombstones and shade trees, became the final resting place for colonial New York's most distinguished citizens. On September 21, 1776, disaster struck. The Great Fire of New York swept through the occupied city, and Trinity Church became one of its most dramatic casualties. Eyewitnesses watched in horror as flames engulfed the building, and the great steeple collapsed in a shower of sparks. Some saw it as divine punishment, others as collateral damage of war. Rumours swirled that patriots had set the blaze deliberately to deny shelter to British troops. The church's destruction left a scar on the skyline, visible in every subsequent engraving of occupied New York. A roofless shell, its walls standing open to the sky. Trinity would not rise again until after the war, rebuilt in 1788 to 1790 as a symbol of the city's resilience, literally rising from the ashes just as the new nation itself was being born. This is King's College, perched on a high bluff overlooking the Hudson River, north of the dense city centre. Established by Royal Charter in 1754, this impressive three-storey Georgian building of golden brick sits amid open fields and orchards, the semi-rural outskirts of mid-18th century New York. College Hall, completed by 1760, featured a central pediment, symmetrical wings, rows of elegant windows, and a small cupola atop its roof. A green lawn sloped down toward the river, and from here one could survey the entire approach to Manhattan. The college occupied about 5 acres granted by Trinity Church, making it both physically and institutionally connected to the Anglican establishment. Yet within these walls, revolution was being nurtured. The student body included future founding fathers, John Jay, who would become the first Chief Justice, Gouverneur Morris, who penned the final draft of the Constitution, Robert R. Livingston, who administered Washington's oath of office, and Alexander Hamilton, who attended classes here in 1773 to 74 before leaving for the Continental Army. In May 1775, as rebellion erupted, a patriot mob stormed the campus seeking President Miles Cooper, a vocal loyalist. Legend holds that young Hamilton stalled the crowd with an impassioned speech, buying time for Cooper to escape over the back fence, a student protecting his Tory mentor even as he embraced the patriot cause. During British occupation, the college became a military hospital, its halls filled with wounded soldiers. After the war, in 1784, it reopened as Columbia College, shedding its royal name and identity to become an institution of the new republic. City Hall and Federal Hall, the birth of a nation. This is City Hall at the head of Broad Street, facing Wall Street, the government center of colonial New York. Built between 1699 and 1703, this 2-story stone and brick building featured a rusticated ground floor with arched openings allowing public passage beneath, and a small cupola with a bell and gilt figure of justice on top. Within these walls, history unfolded. In August 1735, newspaper publisher John Peter Zenger stood trial here for libel after criticizing the royal governor. His acquittal by jury, establishing truth as a defense, became a landmark victory for freedom of the press. In October 1765, delegates from 9 colonies gathered in this building for the Stamp Act Congress, drafting a unified protest against taxation without representation and taking a crucial step toward intercolonial cooperation. On July 18, 1776, the Declaration of Independence was read from this building's balcony to excited crowds below, and British symbols inside were torn down by patriots. During the 7-year occupation that followed, City Hall served British military courts and held American prisoners in its jail cells. But its greatest moment came after peace. In 1788, Pierre Charles L'Enfant transformed the building with an elegant federal-style renovation. On April 30th, 1789, on a balcony facing Broad Street, George Washington placed his hand on a Bible and took the oath as the first president of the United States before thousands of jubilant spectators. Federal Hall became the seat of the new government. Congress passed the Bill of Rights here, and the first Supreme Court convened in these chambers. For one shining moment, this building was the capital of American democracy. This is Wall Street, sloping down from City Hall to the East River, the commercial artery of colonial New York. The street takes its name from the old Dutch defensive wall, demolished by 1699. But by the 1700s, this was the beating heart of trade. At Wall Street's eastern foot stood the Great Dock, built by the Dutch in 1659 and expanded over the decades. This massive timber pier projected into the East River, crowded with warehouses and lined with the masts of merchant ships from Europe, the Caribbean, and coastal colonies. The air here was thick with the smell of molasses and tar, the calls of stevedores, and the creak of cargo being loaded and unloaded. The meal market at Wall and Water Streets buzzed with daily trade, grains, meat, fish, and farm produce. But this location also holds a darker legacy. From 1711 to 1762, Wall Street hosted one of the city's slave markets, where enslaved Africans were bought, sold, and hired out in a wooden shed. In April 1712, just blocks from here, enslaved people launched a violent revolt, setting fires and fighting for freedom. The brutal suppression and executions that followed revealed the tensions and cruelties underlying New York's prosperity. By the 1770s, the Merchants' Coffee House at Wall and Water became an informal exchange where businessmen auctioned cargoes and traded news. And in May 1792, just after the Revolution, 24 brokers signed the Buttonwood Agreement under a tree near this spot, founding what would become the New York Stock Exchange and beginning Wall Street's transformation from marketplace to the financial capital of the world. This is Fraunces Tavern, standing at the corner of Broad and Pearl Streets, a 3-story Georgian brick building with a gambrel roof and dormer windows. Built in 1719 as a merchant's residence, by the 1760s it had become the Queen's Head Tavern, operated by Samuel Fraunces, a West Indian-born entrepreneur whose establishment became the finest dining room in the city. While no contemporary engravings of the tavern's exterior survive, the building that stands today preserves its 18th century character: yellow brick walls, large windows, and multiple chimneys. Inside, the wood-panelled rooms hosted colonial New York's most momentous gatherings. The Sons of Liberty met here to plot resistance. In June 1776, the New York Provincial Congress honored George Washington with a grand banquet in the upstairs Long Room on the eve of British invasion. After 7 years of British occupation, the tavern became the site of celebration and farewell. On November 25, 1783, Evacuation Day, jubilant patriots feasted here as the last British troops departed. Then, on December 4, 1783, in an intensely emotional scene, General Washington gathered his officers in the Long Room one final time. With a heart full of love and gratitude, he bid them farewell, raising a glass to the men who had fought beside him for 8 years. Grown men wept openly as they embraced their commander, knowing this band of brothers would never be assembled again. This intimate moment, so different from the grand public ceremonies, reminds us that the revolution was not just a political transformation, but a deeply human story of sacrifice, brotherhood, and bittersweet triumph. History has left us thousands of these remarkable engravings and paintings from cities across the globe, snapshots frozen in time, waiting to be brought back to life. So tell us in the comments, which city would you like to see revived next? Your choice could be featured in our next video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.